Mitch McConnell, apparently deciding to mix it up near the holidays, has announced his apparent support for the goals of the January 6th commission. He thinks that they're actually maybe onto something and there might be value to their findings. Let's hear him tell it.
You made headlines recently when you said it will be interesting to reveal all the participants that were involved. Can you expand on that comment?
Well, my point was we're watching the investigation that's occurring over in the House, reading about it like everyone else, and it'll be interesting to see what facts they find.
And Liz Cheney kind of leading Republicans there. What have you thought of her performance so far on those committees?
I don't have any evaluation of the performance of the committee. I think the fact finding is interesting. We're all going to be watching it. It was a horrendous event. And I think that what they're seeking to find out is something the public needs to know.
Okay, so aside from everything else that he said there, even referring to it as a horrendous event is novel. I haven't heard the right even imply that it was bad in literally months at this point. I would like to hope that maybe this is Mitch McConnell deciding to belatedly get a little bit back at Trump for his new nickname of McConnell, where he calls him the old broken down crow or whatever. I don't know if that's what it is, but Cenk, you're into this.
Oh,
you're
love
on
this.
Team McConnell.
I would
Hashtag.
definitely not go that far. Hold.
Too late.
But wait a minute.
Real Clear Politics run the headline.
Okay,
Cenk
no,
on Team
they're gonna run a worse headline. I'm gonna give them a worse headline. But of course, nobody's gonna watch the whole clip. Let's keep it real, except you guys. Okay, so you're gonna get it. Could Mitch McConnell be a hero? Hold. I need you to understand a bunch of things, okay? So first, let's discuss this context. Then we'll talk Mitch McConnell a little bit, and then we'll come back to that question. So the reason why this is important is, so first of all, John is absolutely right. The normal talking point for the right wing and all Republicans is January 6th, what name so? No big deal, a bunch of tourists coming and Antifa and FBI sabotage them, pour some guns, they're patriots, release them from Balrog prison or wherever they are. Okay.
Mixed up a few things there, but
yeah,
I like
a couple
it.
of things mixed up in there. I forgot the one in Batman Dark Knight. Anyways, so what was it, Craig? Arkham prison, yeah. Right. Do with it as you please. Okay, anyways, so it's noteworthy that Mitch McConnell is saying, yeah, January 6th was bad. And he's also adding in, we should find out what happened, as in maybe Republicans could agree to consequences for things that happen, at least some portion of Republicans. Okay, now that gets to round two. Round two is, okay, Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, they've been fighting for a while. And I'm using this analogy far too much on the show lately, but it's a little bit like Turkish oil wrestling, right? And so you pour olive oil all over yourself, strip down nearly naked except for jean shorts, and then you grapple. And in Turkish oil wrestling, it goes on, no time limit. It goes on until someone is pinned. And so far they've been squirming around on the ground. And so for a while, Mitch McConnell would get the appears to challenge Trump and goes, January 6th is bad. I vote not to impeach, but he's been a naughty boy. And you go, okay, well, that's interesting. There seems to be a real fight there. And then Trump will roar. And then for a while, McConnell was going back to, yes, sir, I hate you, but yes, sir, right? Now he's come all the way back around to, no, we're fighting and we're gonna fight publicly and behind the scenes. And now, game on. It looked like McConnell was going to basically surrender. But now this indicates he is not going to surrender. And that now they are into the later rounds of the oil wrestling. So this is no longer, hey, this is gonna just flame out. Because guys, so you understand this really important context, most Republican politicians are betas, okay? They're super weak. So they seem to be bullies, but the minute you push back and go, your wife is ugly, they go, okay, please let me phone back for you, I'm sorry. And they go, oh, Donald Trump is unacceptable and a liar and outrageous. Sending his phone number to everybody. Go ahead and threaten his life, right? Oh, I'm so sorry, Donald, I love you, right? So now McConnell's never been one to whimper like that, but he was standing down. This, I think, is fairly definitive, saying, I am not standing down anymore. This is a real fight. And so the part, Farron, where it could become, McConnell can become a quote unquote hero is, we all know there's no chance that any Democrat is gonna beat Trump on rhetoric, politics, marketing, strategy. Like if we're going into 2024 with just Trump versus generic corporate Democrat, I'm very, very worried about that, right? But a guy who could beat anybody in politics is Mitch McConnell. And before I go to Farron, I want to be absolutely clear. I agree with none of Mitch McConnell's positions. I despise the man. I'm just talking in the context of McConnell versus Trump. All right, Farron, thoughts?
You know what? I agree with you on that. Like everything Mitch McConnell does is absolutely terrible, and I don't agree with any of it. He truly is an evil genius. But the second part of that is that he is, in fact, really good at what he does. This man, every move he makes, every word he says is calculated. This is not an off-the-cuff kind of guy that has to walk back comments later. He knows exactly what he means when he says it, and he's thought about it ahead of time. This was a calculated move by Mitch McConnell. Now, the question, obviously, that we're trying to answer here is, what's the calculation, right? Where is he going with this? Is he hoping to expose some of the crazier members of the Republican Party so that maybe they can get them out and move on to just being evil instead of both evil and crazy? That's a possibility. Is it because of the fight with Trump? That's certainly a very real possibility. He doesn't want to have to go back to that, just like most of us do not want that either. So there's lots of different things at play here, but I do find it odd as well that he wouldn't even say anything bad about Cheney. And that's a big deal too, because that has become really the tipping point within the Republican Party. I mean, you had the group of 50 send a letter to McCarthy this week saying you have to kick Kinzinger and Cheney out of your Republican caucus because they're not showing complete deference to Trump. And so for Mitch McConnell to take a stand by not taking a side in that also tells us something. And I think what we're seeing is Mitch McConnell finally getting it not just through his head, but through the head of enough Republicans in the Senate that this guy has no power, right? This is just some elderly man sitting down at a golf course in Florida who can't even tweet at us. What the hell are we so afraid of?
Yeah.
And I think that overall is what's kind of permeating the Senate right now as Trump tries to get people to dethrone McConnell, and nobody's signing on to that either. So McConnell has the upper hand with this, and I think that's what he's trying to show us.
So yeah, I want to continue on with that. So let's try to figure out what the calculus is and what could potentially come from this. And we're gonna try to work through this rationally. So stop with the simping, please, Cenk, for McConnell. I understand that you stand him. I get it. Anyway, so okay. He's trying to imply here, hey, let's take the January 6th commission a little bit more seriously. I'm not gonna just badmouth it, even though, as we've pointed out, he opposed the creation of it. And he did say that Trump was morally and practically responsible for January 6th, but he also didn't think it was worth actually convicting him in the Senate. But okay, let's leave that behind. So looking forward, what can potentially come from the January 6th commission that would serve some sort of interest of Mitch McConnell? So you could have PR stuff, like we find out more and it looks bad for people, whether for Trump or his chief of staff or people like Jim Jordan, or now we're finding out Rick Perry. A lot of them look bad in this. I personally think none of that can harm them in any way. The worse they look, the better it is for the right. Like it's not, well, all these texts just came out. How much damage did that do to literally anyone on the right? And then of course there's potential consequences, like something actually being done that could lead to Trump not running in 2024 or having less interest over endorsements during this primary cycle that's coming up. And I don't know exactly what form that would come in either. I find it inconceivable that the Democrats will actually do something that sticks, that stops Trump from running or anything like that. So if not that, then it's just we're gonna have a conversation about it. And they've so closely, like they have a stranglehold on the narrative around their approach to democracy and the insurrection in the same way that they do with COVID, that nothing can happen in the news that will shake right-wing media off of the positions that they're on. I don't think that most of the base is reachable. I don't think they're listening to Mitch McConnell or any media that's gonna fairly report on what the January 6th commission is doing. So other than as like a random pot shot for Mitch McConnell to take at him, I don't know what could potentially come out of it, but I would love for you to give me an idea of something.
I'm going to. Okay. So, look, first I'm going to go to one of our members because we got the smartest audience in the world, and I love doing the show with you guys. So sign up at tyt.com/join. Anyways, Bitrix on the res writes saying, McConnell doesn't do or say anything if it doesn't increase his power or pocketbook. There's much less altruistic reason for his statement. That is of course correct, but the reference to the pocketbook is smart. So Mitch McConnell clearly represents the corporate class of the Republican Party. He is the king of that class. And so Mitch McConnell has raised probably around a similar number. Pelosi just revealed she has raised about $1 billion throughout the course of her career, and McConnell is likely at around the same number, okay? So when McConnell says something, that is corporate donors talking. He is their representative, right? So that's why we hate Mitch McConnell, and that's why our long-term war is with Mitch McConnell and the corporate class of both Republicans and Democrats. But in the short term, we might need these corporate goons to help defeat the fascists so we survive to get to the long term. And so now that doesn't mean you ever vote for them. That's a much more complicated issue, right? And so, John, if corporate donors and executives have made the turn, then it's not just about McConnell. It means others are also turning and will continue to turn.
And that might stop Trump from running?
No, so what it could do is, you are right to point out the rhetoric, right? The rhetoric is what is important. And here it's the money versus the mouth, right? And Donald Trump's rhetoric has dominated, even billions of dollars in corporate money that, remember, corporate money here is also very complicated because a big percentage of the time that Trump was either running or in office, corporate money was on his side. He's a fake populist. He loved taking their money, right? And when they wanted the tax cuts, and he cut corporate taxes more than anybody did, they loved him.
Yeah.
And so he has helped corporations and corporate rule in America more than anybody. But now they think he's out of control. And like, hey, you were a good boy with the tax cut, good boy. Now you're being a bad boy. Because we have a good system already with McConnell and Pelosi. We run everything, and the corporate media will just parrot whatever we want. Now, corporate media is already against Trump, so that's not gonna help. Mitch McConnell doesn't help with that. But can those donors and executives turn some of the right-wing media? Because if they turn some of the right-wing media, and that's the hard part, I agree with that. So if they turn some of the corporate media, I mean the right-wing media, which is also corporate by the way, well then you would have a rhetorical advantage. And that marketing is everything in politics. Why is Biden getting clobbered? Because right-wing media is always against them. And when mainstream media turned against him when he decided to withdraw from Afghanistan, and they're like, tut, 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 Lockheed Martin does not approve, okay? Then all of a sudden, everybody piled on to Biden. Oh, and inflation and this and that. And next thing you know, Biden is in the dumpster. It's a dumpster fire overall, right? So if you do that to Trump, it actually will have the same results. It's just they never have, right? So how, John asks, reasonably so, well, you know who's a corporate Republican? Rupert Murdoch. And so if Murdoch says, I mean, it's almost a scene out of Succession. If he goes to Hannity and says, we're paying you $40 million a year. You're gonna turn, and we're not gonna have this conversation. And you'll see the turn first from Ducey on Fox and Friends, okay? And then things will start to follow if that's the case. And then at that point, they might kick out Tucker Carlson, and Tucker Carlson becomes the new populist, Trump, et cetera, and I hope that doesn't come to fruition by 24. But you gotta start turning, and the way that they could apply pressure is, okay, Mark Levin, you have a radio show. Oh yeah, I love Trump, I hate the corporate girls, blah, blah, blah. We're withdrawing advertising. You're gonna lose 40% of your pay. I love Mitch McConnell, he's got it figured out. None of those guys have any principles.
That's your best impersonation, by the way. Let's not just gloss over that.
They don't have any principles. If their bosses tell them to turn, they will turn. And so if that starts to happen, hey, game on, game on. Because there's no way in the world that Democrats, can I get agreement on this issue, that Democratic leadership is going to figure out how to beat Trump in a marketing battle?
I mean, we have an idea of it in our B block if you'd like what their strategy is.
Yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. So unfortunately, we need a corporate Republican to come in and save the day. That's the sad, sad state of affairs in America, in my opinion.
There's also the possibility that we might all be reading way too much into this, right? You know, there's a chance, Mitch. No,
Hey, this is our whole job, Farron. Don't blow up our spot.
But think about it this way: Mitch McConnell took a strong stand right there by literally not taking a position on anything. All he said was, "I think the public needs to see this," and he can wait out the long game and say, "Okay, if nothing comes out of it, he'll say, see, the public needed to know that." Or if there's all these crimes, the public needed to know that. So he took the right position by taking no real position, so that whatever happens from this point forward, he can say, yeah, see, I told you the public needed to know this, I win again. So there's the possibility that that's there as well. And his statement literally just meant, look, I'm just gonna let it happen. I'm gonna sit back and keep, blocking all of the good things, everything that everybody wants. Y'all deal with that over in the House. So who knows what's really real in this situation, but I'm hoping eventually we do find out.
That sounds very reasonable, but it's not nearly as much fun. We have to go to our first break. I'm just gonna throw out, I'm gonna quote Bart. Now he was wrong when he said this, but from where we're sitting right now, I assume 2024, I think Trump is gonna win. I think everything is lining up in terms of what the Democrats are doing. It's what we said they would. They're biffing everything, and they're going to put up some awful candidate in 2024 unless we stop them with a good progressive. So that's the other side of this.
Yeah. Look, we'll talk about it in the next segment, but that's why you need someone like McConnell to take him out, because the Democrats have almost no chance. So I was very confident that we were going to win in 2020. And by the way, I was wrong. We barely won in 2020, but I was very worried in 2016. I'm now way more worried about 2024. Like, we are massive underdogs against the Republicans in 2024 because Democratic leadership is the worst, the worst politicians in American history. Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.